Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel, Higher and Beyond podcast. And I'm so excited today because, I'm going to have an interesting conversation with my guest speaker here. Welcome, Paul. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Uni. Thanks for having me.
You're
Appreciate
very
it.
welcome. Wow, it's a pleasure. Okay, Paul, but before we go into our topic today, I'm going to introduce you to our audience today. Yeah, so for all of you guys who doesn't know who is Paul De Kock is, so Paul is a health and wellness marketing holistic coach with specialized for health and wellness for entrepreneur, health researcher, AI enthusiast, and speaker. Yeah. So, Paul, you know what? We've been know each other for quite some time, especially in the personal development journey, and we are a member of a colleges. It's so interesting to be in that place. So, we learn a lot about personal development. And another thing also is interesting that about some kind of personal development growth that you share to us in ecology. Also, you've been speaking in a lot of events, and you've been working as well in the wellness industry for such a long time. You use a lot of technique and expertise, such as Reiki, counseling, and etc. etc. It's so interesting for me, right? So, what is that inspire you to actually working on yourself into personal development and helping people, especially now as a coach in the health and wellness um, life for every people helping as a coach?
I think it's empowerment. One word that always comes up for me is empowerment. When I started, it, I run, like you mentioned, I run a health and marketing agency. So I live in Spain, my company is in South Africa, and we sell health and wellness products. And 25 years ago, when I started out, I decided to promote one of my brands at a local health shop. It was the biggest health shop in Cape Town and the most successful. A wonderful man called Alan Sakanowski owned it. The health shop was called Health for Life. And in working in the health shop on weekends, what I realized is how people they want to move from allopathic medicine into complementary medicine. So they are taking a step to saying, well, I'm going to try something other than a drug. Now, I want to add, I don't have an issue with drugs. I think they have a place, they work amazingly well. Um, but I also believe that they can be complemented. You can make other choices as well. It doesn't have to be your go to. Anyway, what I realized is a lot of people came in to the health shop and they wanted the same treatment as they got from the doctor. This is what's wrong with me, give me a pill. And I've always had this idea that we should be able to empower ourselves. We should be able to think for ourselves, make better choices. Um, I've also always had a love of learning. I love information. I love data. Um, so what I would do is there was a coffee shop part of the health shop, and I would give people books. They tell me roughly what they've been diagnosed with, what the issues was, and they would read the data, they would get information, and I loved how they then started taking ownership. If we take ownership of what ails us, we can also then empower ourselves to deal with the things that causes the ailment. you know so we can take We can look at our diet, we can look at our exercise, we can look at our mental health. We can start taking ownership of those things and not just leave it over to a pull necessarily. So it becomes a more holistic approach.
Yeah. Uh, Holistic approach. I mean, interesting about the mental health that you just mentioned about, people come to you to that shop with one thing that what doctor tell them, and how does that actually kind of, you mentioned about mental health in here, and as a holistic coach which specializes in health and wellness, my question is, how can um, people especially prioritize their physical kind of mental well-being in their daily lives?
Okay, so what, why, how to prioritize mental and physical well-being? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Well, I think, where did I start? I think my journey has been sort of a lot of learning. You learn, you make mistakes, you learn, you make mistakes, and you edit and you move forward. But I think my biggest breakthrough came when I learned gratitude. I think there was a, I'm almost embarrassed to say, but it's part of the learning experience. There was a time when I was, you know, entitled. I think I thought owed things. I wasn't taught better. I thought we owed things. And then I read a book by Dr. Demartini on gratitude. And gratitude is, now I know, with all my studies and research and learning, that of course gratitude is an amazing thing. But for me, that ownership thing started with gratitude because I went to, instead of looking for what's wrong in my life, I started to look at what's right in my life. I mean, just to give you some data, just by writing down for 10 weeks, once a week, 5 things that you are grateful for will increase your happiness by 25%. I mean, that's huge. So that's research. And in happier people, they sleep 30 minutes longer a night, and they also exercise 33% more. So I think for me, mental health starts with gratitude, and then there's the practices. There's the daily practices. I mean, I I meditate. I've worked on my energy levels. I've realized and I've observed myself for a long time and realized that I have little energy gremlins. And if I let those energy gremlins take over, then I sleep in, I sleep later, I don't start my day at the level of energy that I want. So, what I do now is I make sure that I employ practices that allow me to, like this morning, get up at 6:30. I meditate, and that meditation includes gratitude for what I have. And then part of my, you have to develop a good why. I'm thinking about the why. Uh, in coaching, often we are told don't go to the why, but why is a good motivator. And for me, there's an exercise that I did. You're familiar with Stephen Covey, and there's a few others. They talk about the end of life, the eulogy. What do you think? What do you want people to say at your funeral? And those exercises are good, but they never moved me. But the exercise, the end of life exercise that moved me was the exemplar exercise. Shall I talk you through it?
Yeah.
Okay. So the meet your exemplar self. So imagine you're on your deathbed, and
Mhm.
I mean, starting with the end of life, if when you do the end of life exercise with other people, I find it not empowering. But when you start this exercise and do this exercise, you're on your deathbed and you continue down the path that you're on. So maybe you don't take care of your health, you're not taking care of your mental well-being, you prioritize the wrong things, chase after the wrong happiness, and there's a reason for that. Some people chase after the quick fixes, the external stuff, but they don't look for the intrinsic things. But if you imagine you're in your deathbed and you're not leading the life and you haven't lived your best life, but just before you're about to die, in walks that version of you that has that version of you that took care of themselves mentally and physically and emotionally. That version that lived their best life. And I did that exercise. And up until that point, I mean, I've been improving, self developing, because I have this calling, this desire. But doing this exercise laser focused that desire. It sort of created this intensity in me. There's there's something called an activation point. You know,
Mhm.
that's the temperature at which water starts to boil. That's the temperature at which um, something starts, ice starts to form. So there's an activation temperature. There's an activation point at which you start a fire. It has to reach a certain degrees, a certain level. And I think for me, the that exercise was the activation point. It's what took everything else. For me, there's this, I keep thinking to myself, this year as an alchemizing, it's all the 20 years that's gone so far in the past 20 years that is now creating the version of me that I want. So yeah, I've been developing and developing. So knowing your why is extremely important because if you can't motivate somebody, like you say, why would people take care of their mindset and their body if they don't have a good enough reason? Maybe they're happy how they are. They can't perceive a different reality. So you need to find the why. And when I found my why, it just, I think I 10x how I turned up and how I'm performing. So I don't waste time and I'm very specific about what I do and what I want to achieve.
Wow. It's actually interesting about knowing your why. So you mentioned also focusing what your intention, and you know earlier also you mentioned about gratitude in this case because it is actually um, help, like you mentioned, 25% if you do it consistently for few weeks
10
once.
weeks, yeah.
Yeah, even though only once a week, but write it down, five gratitude thing. And I mean, prioritize the physical and mental well-being in the daily life is something that I personally sometimes not aware what am I gonna do. What is actually this kind of what do I need to prioritize for today. And I mean, um, but knowing your why in this case, what is the best way, to start to take that action to know our why?
Well, for me, it was doing that exercise, the end of life, and I realized that I can't possibly. I've been given the gift of this life, and it's had its tumbles and it's had its challenges and obstacles, and I'm grateful for those. But I can't possibly get to that last day and go, wow, there's so much I haven't lived. I could have been. So it's about living my best self moment to moment to moment. And it's not a place you ever end up at. It's a journey. You're always sweeping that floor. You wake up every day and you have to do the work. And you mentioned that, you know, you sometimes you sit at your desk and you go, what am I supposed to do today? Well, there's a simple thing. If, in coaching, we talk about goal setting, etc. So if you sit down and you do the work and you go, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, and this is my purpose. This is why I want to, this is the reason I'm here. This is what I'm supposed to create. So you create that vision, and then you break down that vision into steps, how to achieve that. You know, sometimes it's over the horizon. You can't even see what that endpoint's going to look like. But what you can do is you can create the step by steps by steps to get you there. And how do you do that? Is by understanding where it is you want to end up. And then you ask yourself, well, what do I do if once you break it down into smaller goals? What do I have to do today to work on that? And if you give yourself the gift of energy, you give yourself the gift of eating the right diet, exercising, looking after your mental health, then you can turn up day to day. And it's like, that's why I mean, I used to not be a morning person. I mean, I don't know. Our society has, I fell for the pop culture. I have to have late nights and I'll get up later.
Yeah.
And I'm finding that I get up at 6:30 and I'm just buzzing to get going. So I sit down, I do my meditation, I get into writing, I get into thinking and creating, and I progress from there. And I work according to my energy cycles. So I know what my energy cycles are going to be in the day. So just normally, this would be my exercise time. So because I came online with you, I shifted that an hour, well, hour and a half, and I did a half an hour of exercise, and then I had smoothie to nourish myself, give me mental energy. It's also never a good idea to get on the podcast and do deep thinking when your brain's tired. That's why when you get up in the morning, you can do really good thinking, but then we cycle down, we oscillate down. It's like, well, we cycle down. We basically get to a point where we need to recharge again. And that's where, at the point where I do exercise and then I have a smoothie because it charges me up. But then because I like it, I like a 12-hour day. I love what I do and I like to learn and build towards my ultimate goal. So I plan my day on 12-hour cycle, 13 hours. But in there, I make time for example, an hour nap. So they say 20 minutes is the power nap, but I like an hour because it gives me time to do a meditation, shut eye, and recharge my brain. And then when I get up, I'll have something to, again, fuel my brain and then I'm good. So I basically get my a solid second wind, but at the same time, I'm not grabbing for that sugary thing that people do at the office during the day. You know, have sugar, have more, over caffeinate, and do all those. No, you have to plan it. If you don't plan it, you're going to revert to old habits. You're just going to go back to the way you used to do it. So you have to, in this process of your self awareness, self discovery, self fulfillment, self empowerment, you have to work in habits and install them. And you're not going to be able to install them all at once. But what happens is by installing habits slowly and then starting habit stacking, however you want to do it, you get to a point where it's like, I can actually do this. I didn't think I can do this, but I can. It motivates you to do and work harder.
Oh, wow, that's a lot of information, but really interesting about, at the end, self-discovery and building the habit in the end, and which first of all, talking about the goal, what your intention for the day, and then make the habit, and oh gosh, it's so beautiful about the habit, which um, it's not actually easy to start and building the habit. That is
Mhm.
why, like, I'm gonna say that many people, when they are setting the goal, they are stopped and they don't want to do it anymore because it's so hard to do that, and I don't want to do this habit, so they stop, and then this kind of thing. What do you think about
Oh,
this? What do you tell?
well, I mean, can I ask you, when people stop those habits, have they set themselves such an unachievable objective? And do they know why they want it? It's um, like for me, I had a double brain hernia surgery, bilateral, in January. And before that, I couldn't exercise for a while because, there's complications with these things. Um, so I put on weight, but I wasn't feeling my best self at that weight. So after the surgery ended, I made a beeline for incorporating more exercise in my day to day life. I basically, for me, the motivation is that I want to be stronger now. I want to live my best self. I want to get to that point in my future that I am strong, and I want to be a big, strong 70, 18, 90 year old. We don't know what the limit is. And but if you don't give yourself the chance, so this discipline, and habits don't form overnight. Habits have a big window. Some say 28 days. Some would say that certain habits take 265 days. But the thing with a habit and the thing with installing anything is not to go for perfection. That's a mindset that stops you from achieving. No, the thing is to any information's data, any failure, any mishap, any mistake is data. If you can go, it's like, okay, I didn't do that right. Like, I'll decide that I'm going to have half a pizza. Now the data I could beat myself up. I don't, because I don't eat sugars, I don't eat fine carbohydrates. Um, but once in a while, there's nothing nicer than half a pizza. It's not what I want all the time, but then it's data. And if I go and have the whole pizza, it's data, but I don't have the whole pizza. So basically, when you do something, be kind to yourself, have compassion. But there's also this: if you look at your day, say at the end of your day, and you sit down and you're objective and you go, okay, what worked? What did I do right? What did I like about today? What didn't work? And what did I learn? What can I learn? What can I use tomorrow? So, you know, shaming yourself, guilting yourself. Those are wasted emotions. Rather focus on what you can do. Focus on those things that, you know, focus on if you need to fix something, fix something. I like to um, also, it sort of goes hand in hand. You can't do it every day because as you're installing habits, you have to focus on, doing it slowly. Otherwise, like I say, people stop those things. But if I asked you this question, and now you have to think about what comes to mind immediately. So choose a, you know, choose something that you want to achieve. Think about something that you'd like to achieve. Have you thought of that thing?
Um, no.
Think about a goal, an objective, something
Okay.
that you would like. Have you thought of that? Okay. Now, what is thing that you should stop doing today to achieve that goal? Does something come to mind?
Um, Stop eating sugar, for example. Yeah.
If you want to, if health is your thing, then yeah. And so, what should you start doing? Because a habit, uh, the easiest way to build a habit is to replace a bad one with a good one. So, what should you start doing?
Exercise.
There you go. So you're installing a new habit. So what should I stop doing, and what should I start doing? And you have to have discipline. You have to want it badly enough, but you also have to be kind that when you do falter, you don't use that failure, as we might call it as a society, and then as an excuse to stop you moving forward again. No, it's a little blip, it's an obstacle. I mean, in coaching, if you look at the WOOP model, wish, outcome, obstacle, plan. Obstacle is built into goal setting. So if you don't build the obstacle in, then you're just deluding yourself. Of course, you're going to have obstacles. I mean, it's like people who want, my life is such because this happened. No, well, some things happen and they are traumatic. Listen, I've experienced those. If you have a gun to your head and you think you're going to die today, I've had that. And that trauma deals with you. It's a different kind of thing. But we often see failing at a diet or failing at exercise or failing how say if you have an idea of who you want to be you like I'm a I think of myself as a professional optimizer, and I also want to live my best life on a day-to-day basis, and I want to be a good soul. So if I turn up and you and I have a conversation, now here's a good example of where all this works together so well. So I meet you at the beginning of the day, and we have a conversation. I'm going to be energetic, and my willpower is going to be up. So I'm not going to be maybe triggered. You might say something, and I might, well, no, I can deal with that. But later on in the day, so I haven't taken care of the way my body cycles energy. I haven't nourished myself enough. I don't exercise to give myself, you know, endurance, etc. So at the end of the day, you and I meet and you say the same thing, and I get triggered. And I lash out at you. So now I can end up feeling guilty, shameful. Of course, I should apologize. You know, I mean, that goes without saying, an apology. But going away from that, you should be able to go, what's the data? Okay. Well, it was the end of the day. I didn't have enough energy. So what can I do then? And what did I learn from it? So, oh, maybe I needed to have a better lunch. I need to make sure that I have proper lunch packed. Maybe I need to have a better break. There's a study. They looked at, I think it was Brazil. They looked at six, was it Brazil? Yes, six judges and how they performed. No, Israel. So um, they took these six judges. So they were they would basically, if you wanted to go on get parole, if you were a prisoner get parole, you'd appear before these judges. So they observed them, I think, for a period of a month or 2 months, and collected this data. You know that the judges had a more in the morning they had a break and a snack, and then they had breakfast, and then in the afternoon they had a break for a snack. You know that at the time, just after when they've had their breakfast, so their willpower was up. Willpower goes up. What you eat, you feed your brain. So 65% of the people that applied for parole got parole. 65%. Later on in the day, you know what percentage of people got paroled? Zero, because they resorted to old patterns, inbuilt patterns. So then you go on automatic. So instead of um, stimulus and response, they had stimulus and reaction. And reaction is just that, our old uh, mechanisms, our old way of thinking and patterns kicking in. So you want to increase your willpower, you want to increase and improve how you turn up. Look at how you feed your brain, feed your body, feed your spirit.
Hmm. So feed your body, feed your spirit if you want to have the your willpower.
Yeah,
Especially to
exactly.
in is this applicable for in everything what you do?
For all of us.
Hmm.
Imagine, somebody that works in an office.
Yeah.
Something talking about people who work in office, and you talk about virtues like gratitude. You know that if you're in an office, okay, so you're in an office, and so you follow these rules. So you make sure you get enough exercise, you look after your mental health, etc. And say you work for a company that has your well-being at heart. You know, often, I have my issue with corporations because corporations have a fiduciary duty to make their shareholders a profit. Okay. I like B Corps because B corporations, and the only part of their duty or mandate is for them to make a profit. The other parts include looking after their employees, looking after their environment, looking after the footprint they leave. So those corporations look after more than just the one single thing, which is profit. And so if you work in an environment, and we're going to use the B Corp, let's use the B Corp. So you work in an environment where you have hope and you have leadership that give you hope, you will increase those companies. They found in studies, well, the studies don't refer alone to B Corp, so refer to companies. But basically, when you have leadership that give their staff hope, they increase productivity 69 times. 69 engagement, sorry, not productivity, that engagement. People are far more engaged when they are have hope that whatever they do means something, that they mean something, etc. And then the other thing, if you combine that with this figure, you know, yeah, multitasking. We're often told, yeah, multitask. You have to be good at multitasking. There is no such thing as multitasking. It's called reality. It's task switching. You're shifting attention. And when I learned this, I understood the value of deep work because if you task switch all the time, what you do is you end up losing 28% of your time. 28% of your time because you're not producing as much as you want and you basically, every time you shift your attention, you have to get into it. So I think there's something called something residue. So basically, there's some residue remains from the previous task. So it's still in your head, and you go to that. And so all the time, there's this residue remaining that slows you down, and you never get as deep into what you want to get into as when you focus on one thing at a time. I know that was a lot of information.
Actually, I mean, I learned a lot from this. And interesting about there's no such thing as multitasking.
No.
Um, yeah, I mean, everything what we do, it has to be with the intention, to help our well being, especially by doing some kind of whatever to help our health. Okay. Hmm. Well, I believe that everybody want to be healthy. Um, well, of course, dream to have the well-being life or etc etc. And yeah, you mentioned about it's, of course, it's not easy to build the habit because there's a lot of requirement. Well, even though if you not do it, you're not gonna get it. Such as enough sleep and discipline, etc., etc. And um, in daily life, as a person, what is the you know it's just an example before. I'm thinking about, I want to be healthy, I want to be, stop thinking about my well-being, but okay, I eat whatever, but I'm not doing some kind of whatever discipline, I don't sleep enough, and etc etc. And I thought I can do everything, multitasking and things like that, and it's just like that's not the way it is, right? And well, how can actually people make some kind of lasting lifestyle change, besides talking about the habit and etc that you just mentioned about?
Wow. I think if somebody had the answer to that, you know, if I had the answer to that, everybody could make lifestyle changes and would last a lifetime.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'd be a very rich man. I think the only thing is know where you're starting, know where you want to get to, and make sure that when you start, it's where you want to go. And actually, it's a Chinese proverb. Every journey of 1,000 miles starts with a step. So, using that exemplar example again, if you know, if you if you make a note on a piece of paper and you go, okay, in 1,000 miles, I want to end up sick, unhealthy. I want to, die a slow, agonizing 10-year death or whatever. Then you know how to get there. But if you don't want to, if you want to have a full, healthy, optimized life, then realize that there's a journey for that. And you can start that journey at any time. You know, um, it doesn't mean like you have had to start 10 years ago. Like they say, you could have started doing this 10 years ago, or you could start doing it today. And you can always start your journey. It's never too late.
Yeah.
And then you end up in a different place. You just have to understand your why and understand that whatever journey you're on, it has an outcome. Um, and you have to look at what's important to you. You speak about, you mentioned um, like multitasking and doing all these things on a day-to-day basis. Let me ask you something. Which of these things do you think matter most? Your family, people you love, your health, your work, you know, what else is there? What are the things that you value most?
For me, I would say health now.
Health, okay.
Yeah.
And what is your biggest impediment to that health?
Well, if I'm healthy, I can take care of my loved one, my family, and I can have, you know, be, I can work, I can do anything if I'm healthy, if that makes
Okay, and
sense.
if you, yes, okay. So if you're not healthy and you don't
Yeah.
take care of yourself, what happens to your family? What if you got sick? What if
Mhm.
you burn out? What if you get overstressed in the constant cortisol rush? Think of it like this. Some things, and this is also about that work-life balancing. Some things like work is a rubber ball. You know, it bounces back. You can always bounce back with work. And what that means is if you focus on one thing and just focus there, if you come back and do something else, that thing that you start doing does not feel neglected. But with your family and your health and taking care of those things, they're fragile. If you don't make the time for your children, or you don't make the time for your family, and you don't make the time for your mental well-being, those things don't just bounce back. Your health, if you wait till you're sick and unhealthy and diagnosed with disease state, then your journey back to health is longer. The price you pay is higher. So all the reasons you got yourself there, then I mean, I've been there, I've seen it. It goes out the window. Um, and so the things that we're willing to sacrifice for everything else for suddenly is not that important. What's important is who we love and make it. It's like I make time every day to spend with my husband. It's like that's our time. I'm not going to let anything else get in the way with that. It's important enough that it goes in the diary. It's not just, oh, maybe if what, because I know that I enjoyed the times with him. And if anything had to happen with him, I had to go, what? I valued X, Y, and Z more than my time with him. Or like if you have kids, or, I, you don't see them growing up, or you don't spend time at a birthday because you had to do work towards a deadline. There are always things that, like work, that bounces back, but the things you don't get back at the end of your people never said, I wish I worked more on their deathbed. No, I wish I had more time for my family. I wish I had more time for my loved ones. Those are the things we miss. I wish I took care of myself better.
Yeah. Wow. Indeed, indeed. I think this is one thing that most people are regret about the time with the loved one. Interesting one. And about empowering and mindset that related with this. How does that actually? We talk about so many areas in our life about loved one, family, health, well-being, mental, and how does that actually relate with the mindset, affect success, and overcoming challenges? Because this is some kind of related to in the mindset.
Well, this, so how does mindset affect success and overcoming
Success.
challenges?
Mhm.
Well, I think first of all, not like we spoke about earlier, don't beat yourself up. If you think that the journey to success is a straight path, and you know, and if you fail, you're a failure. So many people stop at the first failure. That's not. It's you have to keep going. You have to have resilience. That's where grit and resilience comes in, and that's where growth mindset comes in, which is flexible mindset that you can. I like one of the virtues. One of the virtues is hope. Now we have wisdom, discipline, love, and courage. If you ever want to do a virtue, find out your virtues, you can go to viacharacter.org. Now, these virtues are indicated for the best life. They include wisdom, discipline, love, courage, gratitude, hope, zest, and curiosity. Now, if you in your growth, in your overcoming challenges mindset, embrace curiosity and hope. So first of all, you treat failures as data, like we said earlier. You know, how can I? What happened? What went right? What did I learn? What can I do better? Then that's data. And then the other thing with hope is that you understand that the best way to build resilient hope, we started off by talking about over the horizon goals and breaking things down into goals. So once you've set your goals, you have to believe, you have to have agency, the belief, the self belief, the confidence, the self efficacy that you can achieve that goal. Okay. So, if it's a good exercise to, if you consider a goal, to go inside and sit with it and go, okay, do I really believe I can achieve this? And then what am I willing to do to achieve that goal? Um, there's this thing that I love. Decide what success you want, accept the price you have to pay for it, and pay it with one proviso that it does not cost you your life or your family and your health, etc. Because those aren't prices I'm willing to pay. So but I'm willing to get up earlier. I'm willing to do the mindful work, the mindset work. I'm willing to do the meditations. I'm willing to have a healthy diet. Those prices I'm very happy to pay. So prices that you pay does not have to be something that gremlins will take away from you. They can enrich you. And then ultimately, with hope, you want to have hope, then realize, imagine your goal is to reach the top of a mountain. Okay? So you're at the bottom of a mountain. So now there's your goal. You can see it. You want to get to the top. You have to believe you can get to the top. Okay? But you also have to know that you're going to encounter failures along the way and that you may have to go different pathways. And every time you have to veer off in another direction, start over, you know what? You do it. Because that's just what hope is. When you fail is when you give up. That's when you fail, not any other time. And of course, there are times where you realize that, well, you've learned along the way. Remember, sorry, 100 thoughts in my head. We often see a goal, we see a place we want. If you dream big, you go, oh, you call me a speaker. One of the things I'm like, I couldn't do right now is get on the stage in front of 1,000 people. I like this kind of speaking. But I have also made peace with the fact, and I acknowledge that in my future, that may very well happen. Now, I can use that as a mental obstacle, or I can say to myself, okay, that may very well be part of my journey. But I know that as I grow on my journey, then by the time I get there, I will be able to do it. I will be big enough to do that. And this is the thing. There's constant, I talk about data. There's this constant, collection of information and data. So when you get on your journey, there are going to come a time where you go, actually, I'm chasing after the wrong thing. They call it mountain A and mountain B. And mountain A is when you run after all the extrinsic successes. The fancy car, the nice house, all the clothes, everything society says you should have and you should sell your soul for. And these are all extrinsic things. And yeah, some of them are nice. I'm not going to say they aren't. But then when you get to the top of that mountain, you realize there's mountain B. And to get to the top of that mountain, you have to go inside. It's the intrinsic stuff. It's the stuff like love and hope and gratitude and self development and wanting to leave the world a better place. So when it's not just about me, selfish me, but how can I best serve the world? How can I best serve others? So in that journey, you might have to come to a point where you also have to be mature enough to go, okay, I need to change my goal, my objective, or that's changed.
Hmm. Oh wow. So this is uh, interesting about, even though at the beginning we have that goal, but you give some the example about maybe mountain A, maybe mountain B, and then at the end, um, you have the willingness to change your goal after that long journey about the
Yeah, it,
mm,
it's more like most people serve Mountain A. They want to achieve those things. They get to a point where they realize they may want what's on Mountain B, which will give them inner peace. When it comes to goals, you as you grow nearer to your goal, you may realize that yes, what you thought you wanted or what you thought was the ultimate outcome for you, you know what? That may just be the baseline then for what you want to achieve. You might shift and go, yeah, um, no, hold on. You might say, I want to do this, and you get close to it, then you shift your goal. Think bigger.
right, right. Like I would say, focusing on your goal and be. I think this is also acceptance at the end.
Mm.
You know, with the mountain A, mountain B, maybe this is not, and maybe the mountain B, it's gonna give you the peaceful, or maybe this is actually the thing that you've been working, and for whatever reason, by the way, I don't know how to explain, but yeah, I got it. I got it.
Mm.
Yeah, wow. So this is why I can see that mindset, using especially the growth mindset, and how to overcome the challenges is the basically the growth mindset. Um, do you have any barriers, some kind of common barriers about mindset, and how can be they overcome or something like that, or is this
I think we've
really?
spoken about a few, like perfectionism,
Yeah. Oof.
and guilt and shame
Gosh.
and those things. You know,
Ooh,
um,
yeah.
so those are the things that usually stop us. The things that we shouldn't fail. Those are the things that stop us. There's quite a few. I mean, when you go into the things that the stories we tell ourselves about why we can't.
Oh my God. Yeah. Um.
There's this voice in your head. That's a big barrier.
Exactly.
That
Yeah.
voice, that whiny voice, that when you want to achieve something, it goes, "Oh, you're not good enough. You can't do this," or
Oh,
it has to be perfect. If it's not perfect, you can't do it. You know, those don't help you. That voice does not help you.
Yeah, oh my God, such as perfection, shame, not good enough. Let's, yeah, like what you said, it's the self-talk, the negative talk inside of your head that actually, no, you can't do that, you're not good enough, don't do that. Okay, change your goal. Maybe this is gonna be in the whatever change. Yeah, okay, it's,
You,
oh
no,
my
hold
God.
on. You can change your, when I talk about changing goal,
Hmm,
is don't change a big goal for a small one because that voice in your head
yeah.
tells you you can't. No, sometimes when you set your mind on something, two things happen. Either one, you realize that you can evolve that goal, or number two, you've evolved this to the point where you go, well, I no longer seek that goal. Then there's a deeper thing you go for.
Yeah, right, right,
But
right.
that's why your
If
why has to be so big. When your why, your over the horizon why, is that you want to live your best self and your calling is to make the world a better place and serve humanity as best you can, then you have a big why. And how you do that, see, how you do that may change by how you grow. you know, you might want to serve humanity, and then you go, well, this is what I can do now. This is my goal because that's what I can see myself doing. I think in that process, you grow, and then you get to a point where you go, well, I can serve bigger. You see, that's how you can adjust goals.
yeah, yeah, evolve the goals. Oh my God. Yeah, but I think it's interesting and don't stop in the middle and you know evolve your goal instead of no, I can't do it and this kind of thing, etc., etc. And now,
Mm.
Paul, I'm curious about the technique for developing the positive and mindset growth
Say again, you
in the
say again.
I'm just curious about the technique for developing the growth mindset, especially in the health and wellness, mental well-being in your coaching journey, in your coaching business also.
What's sorry? There's a word I'm not hearing. The use.
The can you share the technique for developing a positive growth mindset in the your health and wellness, well-being for the coaching journey, coaching business that you have?
You know what? With most people, you can, like I said to you before in our last conversation, sometimes you have to tell people blue is blue.
Mm,
But most of the time, you can question people and they can, if I know that if somebody's why is strong enough that they will move towards something, then it's up to me to ask the right questions to serve that that person. And I also know that for everybody, their why is going to be different and the questions are going to be different. So the process is just accepting that everybody in front of you are different and that you have to cater your questions to what serves them best.
mm, yeah, so question based on themselves in this case. Interesting one. Okay, Paul, last question I would say, but okay, what is one message that you want to share to the world, right, to especially our audience here about the mental health, well-being, and the health that you are really passionate about? Any message to serve to share to our
Well,
audience?
there's a quote I read that I wrote down that I just wrote wow behind. And it's from Einstein and it's about gratitude. And it says, every day I remind myself that my inner and outer life are based on the labor of other people, living and dead, and that I must exert myself in order to give in the same measure as I have received and I'm still receiving. I mean, if you can let that sink in, then yeah.
Wow. I think gratitude is one of the most powerful thing in life.
Mm.
Yeah. And it's also funny that I asked, especially I also realized, in my previous life. Now I'm I really agree because I'm now practicing the gratitude, mindset every day, the gratitude, whatever, action every day. So it really changed my life huge. And you know, I used to, I must say, I'm really focusing on the happiness. Because of that, I'm not happy. You know what? Because of this something little thing, I'm not going to be happy. And I'm really focusing on the one thing, little dot, instead of everything that huge around myself. And
Yeah,
I think gratitude also not only what is the good thing for us. Is it make sense? I mean, like, not only grateful for something good, but also grateful for something even though it's not good. I can tell.
I don't understand.
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
if something's good for somebody else, yeah, then be happy for them. If it's, and if there's a lesson to be learned, be grateful for the lesson.
yeah. So yeah, something like that. By the way, well, okay. Thank you very much, Paul, for your insight. It's been an amazing, and I learned a lot from your insight with this topic, and it's so beautiful about your message about the gratitude for for my audience in here. And thank you so much for your share.
Thank you, Uni. I really appreciate your time and I appreciate you inviting me here. And, if even one person can take something away that helps them, yeah, fantastic.
Um, I personally believe, yeah, I'm pretty sure with that. Do you have something to share before we close our conversation?
I'm good.
Okay, so again, Paul, thank you so much for being here, and I see you again next time, I hope. And thank you very much, everyone, for watching this video. Bye.